Well, firstly, yeah, the grain situation is a brand new perspective on the war here. And given that 90% of the world's trade moves by the oceans, it shows the vital importance of the ports for Putin. One question, of course, having seen the report, why don't they move this grain by land? Well, if you look at the 25 million tonnes of grain, that will be around 1 million trucks worth. So it's just not practical. And that highlights the importance of why Vladimir Putin wants to take all of the ports and therefore will have a view on Odessa in the future. Now, clearly, at the moment, he's gone as far as Kherson, which is just to the east of Odessa there. But over the recent weeks, Ukrainian forces have mounted several counterattacks in the area. And so whilst Putin isn't ready to take Odessa yet, he's much too focused up here. He doesn't want to lose Kherson. And that's why we're seeing reinforcements of the positions there, not for now, but for downstream, so that he can actually finally take the port of Odessa downstream.
Well, you mentioned East. Let's move away from Odessa up to Donbass. What's going on there at the moment?
Well, it's fierce fighting, and the trouble is, each time I'm here, and we've watched it many times, we keep saying fierce fighting. I've had a look back at sort of 3 weeks ago where the maps and the positions were. They haven't actually changed a great deal. But what has changed is that the Russian focus now, the intensity of the war, they've actually finally put a military focus to it. They've got clear objectives, and that is clearly Luhansk falling first, then Donetsk, and they're trying to do that in a much more militaristic way now, in bite-sized portions. The first part of that is Severodonetsk, which is the main focus of the fighting at the moment, and you can almost see here the sort of fingers or the jaws as they're trying to encircle Severodonetsk around there. The gap there is about 25 kilometres, and what Russia will be seeking to do is to seal off the city, stop the lines of communication, all of the supplies for the Ukrainian forces, and then resort to the sort of medieval, bloodthirsty, devastating war of attrition, which they've done before, which is incredibly costly, but it seems to be the only way that they can secure Putin's desire to see some form of progress.
It all sounds very bleak. Can you give us anything positive to focus on?
Well, yeah, the problem is, we don't know what Russian morale's like at the moment from the troops-wise, but they are certainly getting through equipment and people at a tremendous rate. And most Western analysts believe that the attrition of the Russian forces is just not sustainable, and they will have to have some sort of operational pause at some stage. Looking at this, though, one of the options is that Putin does indeed take the Donbass, and if he does that, the question is, can he hold it? Because by that stage, he will be, it's quite a big area, massively stretched his troops, and they'll all be utterly exhausted. We've got Western aid piling into the country, and that will be an ideal time for the Ukrainians to mount a fierce counterattack. The other thing is they just grind to a halt, and that's distinctly possible as well, at which point Russia would probably annex the areas that it's already taken and prepare itself for a surge in the future. Now, of course, all of that decries the fact that Ukraine does have a vote. President Zelensky does have a vote in all of this. And every time Russia extends itself, Ukrainian creates opportunities for a counterattack. But let's be blunt here, Russia has the momentum at the moment.